Let's continue.
Okay.
Now we understand what is a variable. We give some examples about variables. And we know 4 types of variables. Now, the relationship between the variables will constitute what we mean by hypothesis. So what's the hypothesis? Hypothesis is a proposition that is empirically testable. It is an empirical statement concerned with the relationship among variables. So it is the relationship, or it is based on the relationship between variables. If we go back to the steps of theoretical framework, we say first we identify and label the variables correctly. Then we state the relationship among the variables. This is how to formulate the hypothesis. And after that, we explain why we expect this relationship and how we expect this relationship. This is just reasoning. What we mean, this is what we mean reasoning. Reasoning means what is the reason behind it. Okay? So, the hypothesis is a proposition state. Proposition is a state that is empirically testable. It should be testable. This relationship between the variables, we should find a way to test or to measure this relationship. How this relationship is. Is it good relationship, positive, or negative, or what kind of relationship? So it should be testable. How we test this relationship or the hypothesis? This is what we call statistical test. I think you know about this. We do some statistical test. So you should be strong enough in statistics to know about statistical test or statistical, we call it also statistical analysis. There are some programs and softwares that you can use to do statistical analysis, such as SPSS, if you heard about it. This is a program or a package that you can use to do statistical analysis. Why we need to do statistical analysis? In order to test our hypothesis. We find the variables and then we state the relationship between them. This relationship should be testable by kind of statistical analysis. Later on in this subject, we will understand or we will study how to test the hypothesis. So the hypothesis is a proposition or is a statement that is empirically testable. It should be testable. We can measure it, we can test it. It is an empirical statement. Empirical means depends on empirical study or experiments concerned with the relationships among variables. The features of good hypothesis must be adequate for its purpose. We have a purpose, so it should be adequate. Adequate means it should work fine. It should be enough. It should cover all the states. It should cover all the possibilities. So it should be adequate. It means it should cover all the subject of the research. Must be testable. It should be measurable. We can measure the variables, we can measure the relationship between these variables, and must be better than its competitors. Sometimes competitors sometimes means also rivals. Sometimes we have hypotheses, and we can have different hypotheses for the same problem. I mean, we can formulate more than one hypothesis, okay? But hypothesis is better than another hypothesis. So it should be better than its competitors. If we have more than one hypothesis, so the hypothesis that we choose must be better than other hypotheses. Okay? Also from the characteristics or features of hypothesis, it should be directional. It can be directional or non-directional. What do we mean by directional or non-directional? Let's give some examples. We have some examples in the book to explain what we mean by directional and non-directional. All these things that we explained today, you can find in the book, and there are many examples, and you should read a lot.
Sorry.
Doctor, what's the difference between theory and hypothesis?
Theory?
Hypothesis.
Hypothesis is the conclusion of applying theory on observation. When we have observation, I mean in case, in the reality, okay, then we choose a theory to apply on this observation. The application of theory on the observation should be hypothesis, our hypothesis. Okay? When you start doing your research, you will understand all these things. You will apply it to your research. So this is why I asked all the students to have a research topic. This is our assignment 1. I asked all of them to have a topic. Negative. If we have such terms like positive, negative, more than, less than, these are just examples, then the hypothesis is directional hypothesis. For example, the greater the stress experienced in the job, the lower the job satisfaction. Employees. women are more motivated than men. Okay, if we find these terms, positive, negative, more than, less than, and such terms, then the hypothesis is directional. For example, the greater the stress experienced in the job, the lower the job satisfaction. We can find a direction. If the stress in the job is high, greater, means that the employee satisfaction will be low. Satisfaction means the employee is happy with his work. If the work is stressful, you know what we mean by stressful? Stressful means pushing. Your manager keep push you to do a lot of things. Okay? This is what we mean by stress. So if the job is stress, the greater the stress in the job, the lower the satisfaction. You will not be happy. Okay? We have a direction. If this one is great, this one is low. We can see the direction. Women are more motivated than men. There is also direction. Because we know who is more motivated and who is less motivated. So women are more motivated. If we can draw the motivation, so we can say this is woman motivation and this is, for example, men motivation. See, there is a direction. This is more and this is less. In this case, we can say that the hypothesis is directional. Okay? If the hypothesis does not show the difference between women and men, okay, I mean, it doesn't show that these women are more motivated or less motivated, then the hypothesis will be non-directional. We can say some examples. There is a relationship, maybe you can say, there is a relationship between the stress and job satisfaction. You see, there is no direction. Here, we say the greater the stress, the lower the satisfaction. We specify which one is great, which one is lower. But here, there is a relationship. We say just there is a relationship. But we didn't determine what type of relationship between the stress and job satisfaction. It could be if the stress is high, the job satisfaction is low. If the stress is less, then the job satisfaction is high. Okay? So this is non-directional because the direction is not clear. But here is directional because the direction is clear. Also, for the second example, women are more motivated than men. We can say, for different example, there is a difference between the work ethic values of American and Asian employees. There is a difference between the work ethics or ethic values of Americans and Asian employees. You see, we say just there is a difference, but we have not specified what kind of difference. Which one is good and which one is not good. Which one is higher in ethics and which one is lower in ethics. If we specify which one is higher and which one is lower, then the hypothesis is directional. But if we don't specify, so the hypothesis is non-directional. Okay? Hypothesis can be written as proposition, means statement, or we can write it in terms of if then. For example, employees who are more healthy will take sick leave less frequently. Will take sick leave less frequently. This is proposition or statement. We state or we claim, we state that employees who are more healthy, their health is good, then they will take sick leave less frequently. They will not take sick leave or sick holiday more often, just few days maybe during a month or during a year. We can write it if employees are more healthy then they will take sick leave less frequently. Okay? So we can write the hypothesis in proposition. Proposition means statement. Or we can write it in the form of if then. We can see that both have the same meaning. Both have the same meaning, but this one is proposition or statement, and this one by using if then. Okay? You have any question? Okay. We have also what we call null hypothesis and alternate hypothesis. Have you heard about before? Null hypothesis, alternate hypothesis.